Buckle up. Welcome to Musicians and Beyond special multi-part series Under the Covers with Ernie Cefalu. Your hosts John Sarabian and Mark Lawhorn are going to expose the history-making journey of this iconic figure and his contributions to the music and corporate world. But anyways, Mark, it's really been exciting to work along with Ernie Cefalu and do this iconic 12-part series with him.
Yeah, you know, today's going to be part number 11, and it's going to be a fun conversation. We've had along all the storyline that we've done on this series. It's been interesting conversations. It's been about his life. It's been about his music covers, album covers, and the relationships he's formed with the bands and the friends that he's made over the years. And I guess you have to include some of the enemies.
He made a few enemies.
Yeah.
And he's not shy to tell us about it.
No, he talks about it candidly, how it got there, what went wrong, what his version of how things went. He's a very, very creative guy, incredibly talented, comical, fun, insightful. And it's been a lot of fun for you and I and for our audience to learn the history of these album covers and how they came about. Today, what are we focused on today?
Today we're going to be talking to Ernie about, he's going to talk about his career. Mm-hmm. He's going to reflect on his life as a graphic designer and, doing all his corporate work as well as with the music industry. And then he brings us kind of into this little world of his that I wasn't really aware of. He's part owner of a marijuana company, and a very successful marijuana company. And they do CBD and all kinds of stuff. It's the fastest growing industry in the world. Yeah,
it really is. And for him to be on this second stage, so to speak, or the second act of his career, and 78 years old, getting into the marijuana CBD space and branding, that's what he does. He brands things, and being a part of that is going to be really, really exciting for him.
Yeah, and he tells us all about this crazy stuff that his partner cloned, or a purple passion, purple.
We'll hear about that more, I'm sure, tonight.
Absolutely. Yeah. We can't wait to get under the covers with Ernie Cefalu.
I really appreciate you guys giving me the time, to do all this stuff. And
absolutely,
it's been great. I mean, I want to keep on a lot of crazy shit's happening. It's kind of nuts.
for good reasons though. I mean, everything's happening at once for you.
Yeah, it is.
It might be overwhelming, but it's worth.
Keep driving the train.
Yeah, and there's so many things when it comes to marijuana and CBD, along with some of the other stuff I'm doing. Mainly the marijuana and CBD is interesting because it's the two fastest growing industries right now in the country.
Very topical.
Sure is, yeah.
Yeah, and they're finding a lot of medical benefits to both. And my partner and I and King Clone, my partner's all about the medical uses of it. Like I told you, Granddaddy Purp, which is that purple strain of pot that is amazing for pain. And I've got major hip pain from car crashes that I had when I was in 20s and 30s. And man, I just smoke a little of that and I'm good. The pain just goes away. It's weird. It's the weirdest thing. And I was having a lot of problems with pain, and I was always a consumer since college, but I had a friend come to me, it was probably 11 years ago, and said, you really should try this Granddaddy Purp. It's a purple strain of pot, and it's great for pain. So I went out, unlike my set rule of never letting anybody know you smoke, I went out, went to a medical green doctor, got my card, got my state card, and then went to collectives and started trying to buy Granddaddy Purp. And every collective had it, but it was no different than what I was getting from my guy in Northern California, way up north. And so I got a call. After about a year and spending around $3,000 trying to find this purple pot that everybody had, I gave up on it because every collective had it, but it wasn't it. So anyway, I get this call from this guy that says, hey, we need a logo for a product. And I said, I don't do logos. And he hesitated. He goes, what do you mean? He said, you're a designer. I've seen you on social media. You do logos. And I said, well, not really. Let me ask you a question. Do you have any children? He said, yeah. I said, well, how would you like it if I came and got one of your kids and raised it the way I wanted to? You had nothing to say about it. And he was like taken back. And he goes, well, what do you mean? I said, look, I don't have any kids. what I create are my children, okay, and I care about them. And the last thing I want to do is create a logo for you and have you take it and go to somebody else and them screw it all up. That's not what I'm about. But if you want to build a brand, then I'm interested. So they made an appointment. They came from Northern California. One guy's in a wheelchair. The other guy's Vietnamese. And they come, we carry him upstairs because I'm in a 2-story fourplex, and bring his wheelchair. And so we're sitting there, and they wouldn't tell me what the product was. I think they were afraid that I might say, well, it's marijuana. I don't want to get involved with it. And it comes to find out that they have this strain that they need a logo for and branding done called Granddaddy Purp. And it was like, it came to me. I had been looking for it for a year, and I never found it, and it found me.
That's weird.
And so I said, Granddaddy Purp, well, that's a coincidence because I have Granddaddy Purp, and I brought out what I had. And the guy in the wheelchair looks at it, and he laughs, and he tells the other guy, he goes, okay, show him. So they pull out this big mason jar, and they lift the lid, and immediately the whole room was filled with this incredible odor, and this pot was purple. It was purple. And what I had been doing, there's a way that you can trick a marijuana plant into turning purple, whether it's cold or heat. If it turns purple, then they cut it and harvest it, and it's purple. But when you break it open, it's green on the inside. Huh. When you took their pot and broke it open, it was purple all the way through. And I tell you, I've been from that day on. I made partners. We got rid of the guy in the wheelchair because he was a real jerk. But the grower, the cultivator, the genetics guy, and I became partners, and we started King Clones, and we sell a lot of clones. And he is the only one that has the original genetics, because they sold some of it, but then, just because you buy a genetic doesn't mean you can grow it correctly. And my partner is a fanatic about growing. I mean, he grows 400 pounds every 10 days. And it's gone within 2 or 3 days. And because he's affiliated with the second largest collective in San Jose called CA Collective. And so he's got 9 grows, and he creates all these clones, little baby plants. And, so it's a great industry. So we became partners. They hired me to create Granddaddy Purp. I'm more interested in talking about, because Granddaddy Purp became a strain. It was no longer really a company. It was a brand, but it was a strain that was owned by King Clone. We created King Clone. We created this tagline to go with it called, when you start with us, you finish with the best. Okay. And basically what that is saying is, you can start with us, whether you're a first-time user, or you're a first-time grower or a full-time grower. When you start with us, when you start with our genetics and you start with our brands, then you'll have the best there is. And so that really caught on. And what you see behind me over here is all the awards that we've won, because they used to have these conventions. They start during the pandemic, it was all ended, but they'd have conventions and thousands of people would show up, and you were buying bongs, and, some places, depending on what city it was, you could actually buy marijuana and concentrates and stuff like that. So we entered a lot of contests with our strains, and those are some of the awards that we won before the pandemic. Over here, all the strains, my partner who created and keeps the genetics for Granddaddy Purp also creates all these new strains, about 14 a year. So I created logos for each one. I did the lettering, but each strain, I created a type font and lettered, and there's got to be like 40 of them now. And you see all the different lettering again, so that nobody, because the problem with the industry is you can't trademark anything. Okay, because it's not federally legal, so you can't really trademark it. And so what we did was we created a lettering font that I own. And if anybody tries to duplicate that font, it's a copyright infringement. So that's how we got around protecting our strain names. If you come out with Gorilla Dust and it takes off, everybody's got Gorilla Dust. Everybody's got the next strain, and the consumer is looking for the next thing. It's like there's so much of it and so many different strains. There's got to be thousands of strains from all these companies that are creating a strain and naming it. And one of the other problems was consistency. One of the things that my partner Ben does is he grows out the strain 3 times. So it's close to a year before he'll actually take that strain and release it to the public because he wants to make sure that it's consistent. So you buy it today and it works for you. You go back next week and you get the same name, but it's a whole different thing. So when you buy a King Clone strain, you can rest assured that every time you buy that strain, it's going to be exactly the same. And that's a big problem that the industry has to this day, because like Ben is probably one of the best growers in the industry. And the logo that I created for the CA Collective, which is the second largest collective in San Jose. And that's where my partner is partners with the guy that they own CA. And they probably put $30 million into that place. It's amazing. They just rented an empty space and built it all out with everything, all the equipment, the sprinklers, the CO2. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy, some of these places and the money that they spend. A poster that we did for CA with all these, like a floral bouquet with all these marijuana buds and then little packages of the pot and stuff. And you know, talking about how, you know, this is where you go to get the best there is. And then a logo that I did for Mango Tango, which was an edible, a cupcake that we made edible, you know, THC. And we called it Mango Tango, and I did that logo for them. And, you know, it's been an interesting industry because it's a lot like the record business because it's so current and it's so, you know, right now, I mean, it's just really kind of nuts how all that works. And you know, being part of that for me is really kind of exciting. It's a Granddaddy Purp. That's the strain, and I mean it's a beautiful, when it's growing, it's beautiful. It's purple and green and orange. I mean, it's an unbelievable strain. I created some different logos. This strain is called Medusa, so that's an ounce of Medusa that I created. This Medusa logo with all the snakes and stuff on it. We have. I want to get to this next one last. Down here, Love Cannabis. This is a strain because we found out that a lot of women are buying marijuana along with men. So we created a more of an easy kind of feminine kind of thing called Love Cannabis, and I created that logo for that. And then what you see over here is some of the genetics. When you see this blown up, I mean, you'll see here's our clones and all the genetics and stuff and the awards that we've won. And like I said, he comes out with about 14 new strains every year. Then this is the logo that we created for the genetics. The King Clone logo there. And then what we have up here, but anyway, what we have up here is something that's very cool. About a year and a half ago, I got reached out to by a company in Canada that did augmented reality. And they wanted to take some of my images and animate them in augmented reality. And it's an amazing thing. It's not AI. It's augmented reality. So what it is what you see there is a logo that I created for this strain. And that's the lid. That's a sticker that's on the lid of an eighth jar. Okay. And on there is a QR code. And all you need to do is point your phone at that QR code, and that character becomes alive. And it's standing up on the jar. And it you can see all around it, and it's got music that goes with it, and you can project it. This company in Canada created this thing. It's proprietary technology that he owns, and he has a way of taking that character. It's probably, I don't know, 6-7 inches tall on the jar. So imagine you're getting with some buddies, and you're all getting high, and you go, "Hey, check this out!" And you hit his phone, and up pops this character that's dancing and music and whatever, and so he can also take it and project the image into a room. So he can put that character, whether it's a dragon or a skeleton or whatever, he can project it like 4 or 5 feet high in your room on the phone. I mean, it's really amazing. So it goes right along with, you know, where was this stuff in the 60s when we really needed it? You know, I mean, we had to do with op art and stuff, you know, this is amazing. I mean, it's really taken off like crazy. And we were the first ones to do this. Yeah. So again, trying to get people more involved. I mean, we talked about this in some of the stuff that we had done on the album covers. I try to get the consumer involved, the fan involved, in more than just, you know, sitting there and smoking a joint. Okay. Now you're sitting there smoking a joint and you can actually do this thing, and it's incredible. I mean, you swear that you can touch it. you can reach out and grab it. It's just crazy. So bringing that technology into an industry that it makes the most sense of all to be in this industry,
Right.
it truly does. So, that worked out really, really well. And in that industry.
So not only do you guys have a good product, but the marketing for it is incredible too.
Oh yeah, and again, there was so much stuff. I've been working with King Clone for 11 years, and we've done ad campaigns, we've done logos, we've done branding. Green Science is another entity. Pinzar Science is another one. All these different companies that are all kind of under the umbrella of King Clone.
Yeah.
And it's been a great ride for the last 11 years, and it keeps me current. Records kept me current back then.
This is like a second stage of your career.
Yeah.
This is really taking off.
It truly is. I kind of describe my career as like a 3-stage rocket. The first one was records and some corporate that really helped get that up off the ground. And then the first stage is disengage, and now it's the second stage. And you're right, Mark. This is really a new horizon, a new way of me taking what I do and applying it to a product that's really, hot in everybody's minds, and taking the knowledge that I got in the, 40 years of doing work for corporate America and learning the disruptive way I did album covers and carried it through corporate America. And now I'm taking that same disruption and using it in this industry.
And no pun intended when you said it's on everyone's mind.
Yeah, it is. It's in everybody's head, that's for sure, But yeah, and it is. It's a really, I use it mainly to self-medicate, it's really not, for me, it's not about the high, it's getting the pain to go away without taking drugs. It sounds funny, but even pharmaceutical, I won't take pills. I don't drink. I stay away from that stuff, but this really helps me, and I don't need all the other stuff. I don't need to get strung out on pharmaceutical pills, that ends up one way, it never ends up right.
I think we all know somebody where the medicinal purposes of marijuana has been for cancer patients, for others that are the pain is real and debilitating, and this has been one way that we've seen people get through that and help out with it. Yeah,
don't get me wrong. I like the high too. It's a great buzz. But for me, the buzz is good because I work. I've been able to take that high and direct it to what I'm working on and do some really great stuff. It's not like everything I've ever done I've been high, but it really helps. It helps you get beyond everything that's hanging you up every day, all this shit that goes on in your world. And, I just filter that out and I focus on what I'm doing. And it really has helped me in my ability to create. And I don't mean to endorse that for everybody. I'm sure people, I've been with people that smoke a joint and freak out. I've had people not even feel it. So it's a very strange thing, and it's very personal, and I like it for that. And so that carried over to now the CBD world. Okay, about 5 years ago, I met this guy who was selling glassware to my cousin's head shop. And he was talking about CBD, and I had never heard of CBD. Who knew what CBD was? It's brand new, so to speak, compared to marijuana. And so he was talking to me about needing a logo for this company, and I said sure, and then I never heard anything from him. About 4 years later, he reaches out to me and he goes, I don't know whether you remember me or not. I got your number from your cousin, and I don't know whether you remember me, but I was talking to you about doing a logo, and I didn't use you, and I kicked myself in the ass every day for not using you, because I went to a company called 99 Designs, and they gave me a logo, and it really isn't any good. And it wasn't. It was really bad. You had to search for what the name of the company was. It was just really not done well. But this is a company that hires all these people that think they're designers, and they pay them very little, and they give them thousands of, and usually it's 100 variations on one idea.
Yeah.
So it's not really different ideas. So he asked me if I would get involved with this company. It was called Cali Born Dreams. And I did for them too, ad campaigns and all kinds of stuff. And the newest stuff that we've just gotten into, and this is probably what you see back here is his full line. So this guy's a baller. He has tinctures, he has gummies, he has, smokable. People actually smoke CBD, which is the weirdest thing because you can't feel it. It's one thing to smoke marijuana. You feel it when you smoke CBD flowers, it looks just like cannabis, and it is cannabis, but it's hemp, and it has no THC value. So you smoke it, and my sister-in-law uses it to keep from smoking cigarettes. So it's because a lot of it's this physical thing with your hands and holding something. So I'll roll her a few joints of this hemp, and it pacifies her, her need to smoke tobacco. So, and I imagine other people do that too, but a lot of people use it for pain. A lot of people use it for building up your immune system. Mm-hmm. It supposedly has all these benefits. And this guy, unlike most people in the CBD industry, has a heart surgeon, a very well-known heart surgeon that works with him, who is a total believer in CBD. So he's been working with us, and we've created campaigns with using him. And here's what he said. And so that's a full line you see there. It's got tinctures and all the rest of it, and the labels that I just created for his gummies. This really, for me, is exciting because it illustrates the 30 years of working with Nestle and Kraft and food companies like that, because I learned how to make things look delicious. And, that plays with color, composition, subject matter. All that really plays heavily into having somebody look at that and go, wow, I want to try that. And I also learned it in the Army. I was in the Army Reserve. I ran 3 mess halls. I was a cook. And, I learned very quickly that if you can make something look good, they'll put it on their plate. Whether they eat it or not, that's, my job is to get them to put it on their plate. So the same thing applies here. I've had people tell me, I don't know what CBD is, but I would eat those because they look healthy. They look delicious. They're clean. And so, that really sort of comes from Nestle and learning all about that for 30 years. And then what the newest thing, drinks. He's got CBD drinks, lemonades, 4 different kinds of lemonade. Now you'll see that 2 of them are CBD drinks. 2 of them are Delta 9. Now, Delta 9 is it's a hemp-based product, but it's got more THC in it. And they haven't outlawed it and stuff. And so it's, some stores won't carry it. This packaging, he showed this, this doctor, this heart surgeon, went with him on a call to a guy that's president of 3,000 independent 7-Elevens and Circle Ks. Those are fast convenience stores, and they were so blown away by the packaging that we did on those labels that they've taken not only the drinks but a lot of his lines, and he's going to be in all these 7-Elevens and Circle K stores. Cali Born Dreams. Yeah, they've got a website. Okay. We've done a lot of work for him over the last, like I said, 4 or 5 years, and he's been really, really happy because he was going nowhere, and he was spending all this money trying to promote it, but it was really bad. It was like taking something that was bad and spending a lot of money to promote it, and people just don't want it. So turning it around, it's the same product, the quality product, but the branding is different, so much so that people are buying it. His stuff is flying off the shelves. Yeah. And he's probably one of the best known, at least in California. And the cool thing about CBD, unlike THC, is you can ship it anywhere in the country. Yeah. There's no real regulations against going across state lines and stuff like that with CBD. Yeah. So he's been able to expand the brand, with the stuff that we're doing for him. Nobody bats 1,000, I've learned that, and I can't get upset if I strike out every once in a while. And I have, I've never really gone without having some issue with somebody. And like Flip Skateboards was one. It's a very popular skateboard company, and they hired me to do a logo. And the biggest mistake I made there was I did this beautiful logo and I did it too quick. So they said to themselves, anybody that can just do that quick can't be that good. So they put me through all these gyrations. It was one of the worst clients, them and Studio Instrument Rentals, which is a big, from end to end of the country with rental facilities and instruments for musicians and rehearsal studios. And they were just clients from hell.
But it was probably it was probably quick because you have 50 years experience under your belt.
Yeah, well, and that's true. When I mean, and I'm very fair in price, but some people go, well, God, that's a lot. Well, you're getting something that's got 54 years of experience. I'm not just, some young kid that doesn't know anything, and I'm going to do something and it's pretty and it's got color in it, but does it sell the product? That's really what it's all about. And it was all about that in the record business too. If I could create an album cover that would make people pick it up in a record store out of an ocean of covers, that would be pretty amazing. And now I've been able to do that. I've been able to draw from the equity that I've built in my career to create each and every new thing that I do. And I try and apply it that way. And that's really come to fruition because now I have the ability to say no, and I can turn down clients, which I do. I probably turn down more than I take because maybe there's not enough budget in it. I get a lot of people on Facebook wanting, we've got this band and we need a logo and we got $250, and I'm like, God, I'd really love to do it, but I just can't. That time that it would take me to do that, because I can't just go boom and there it is. I've got to really get into it. That time is better spent with my life. I want to enjoy life. I'm 78. It goes so fast. And the one thing that I've really been able to come to the realization that I do it my way. It's like the Frank Sinatra song. He did it his way. I do it my way. And either you like it or you don't. And it won't upset me if you say no, and it shouldn't upset you if I say no. It's just how it is. I mean, and I guess getting to an age where you realize that there's more years behind you than there are going to be in front of you. And that's really something that is hard to accept. It really is. I mean, getting older, I feel like I'm pulling back on the reins and my heels are dug into the ground and it's dragging me toward the grave, and I just try and it seems like sometimes the more I resist, the faster it goes, so now you just let it go. I've been able to enjoy life. I've been able to put my personal life in front of my business life, and that's good.
Ernie, here's a question for you, and you've been asked to do certain things. And so what's the oddest thing that you've been asked to design something for and chose to, and the oddest thing that you were asked to and said, oh, no, I'm not touching that?
Well, that's funny because I guess one of the oddest things, there's a couple. Well, one of them is the RTD buses that we did that looked like big submarines. Now, they gave me 13 buses, painted them gray. And we had to build turrets with flags and paint seaweed and water and fish and everything on 13 buses. And those were used to go, during the summertime, to go to the beaches for young kids. We took out the back 10 rows. You could take your surfboards, you could take your bikes, you could take your pets. Clarion car stereo was one of our clients, so every bus was equipped with Clarion car stereo. So we really, that was probably one of the oddest things. That and Rockwell International hired me to do a Navy League show, which is a trade show where people go to buy rockets and missiles and tanks and stuff. It's called the Navy League show. And it's the kind of show where groups of people go with armed guards through the show. Okay. And it's real high security stuff, and countries go there to buy stuff. And so they asked me to design a booth. And so I created a 40 by 60, which was huge booth, that when you walked into the booth, there were these round portal shapes that looked like you were in a submarine. And when the show started, the portal doors lifted up and the music started, and you're looking in this, what looked like it's all underwater. And there's a bust of Neptune that's, like a statue that's been disrupted on the ground. And we projected a face onto that, and Neptune's talking about this three-ring laser gyro guidance system for nuclear submarines and battleships. Okay, and I did that show 2 years in a row. It was so successful the first year. We revamped the whole booth and did it again the second time. So that was kind of odd as well. Ones that I say no to, one was just recent with some scientists and doctors who had a pain cream that I just didn't feel good about. I love the product. I think it's got a lot of issues. It's, there's an educational piece. that has to go in front of it. It's because it's a new technology, and so there's an educational piece along with finding a name that isn't already taken. And there's millions of pain relief salves and topicals and drugs and whatever. So there's a major competition. And then part of that educational piece is how do they convince me, who's using a spray that I buy at Walgreens for $7.99 that works, to stop using that and buy their jar for $50? Right. So it has to be pretty compelling. And I was very into it until I met the two young guys that were going to head it up. One was a business guy. The other guy was a social media guy. And I guess,
we've talked offline about this before a couple times.
Yeah. When things are said, little antennae go up, and you just, they were really pumping me to see what I would give them for free. And I wasn't about to do that. Yeah. And I didn't trust them. And when I told the main guys that were running it, I said, look, they're coming to you with whatever they come up with. Why don't the three of us work together, give it to them, and then let them come back to us with what they're going to do with it? And the one guy liked it. The other guy goes, well, why is that? I said, because I don't trust these guys. They're misleading. They tried to mislead me. I don't trust them. And he said, well, I trust them completely. Turned out that one of them was his son. I didn't know that. So it was like, okay, wrong move on that one. It ain't going to get me very far with this guy. I'm not going to get any Christmas cards from him.
Yeah, that's all right, though. Sure. That's all right. I mean, after 54 years of being in the business, you know what those red flags are right away.
You know what? Yeah. I used to get suckered in a lot. Because I loved the product. I loved the assignment. It was great. It was all these things that we were going to do. And then after a while, you just, I've been down that road before. I know, where it's going to end. And I've actually told people, look, I got to be honest with you. This is going to not end up good. It may be good right now, but it ain't going to be good. And so why don't we just stop it now and be friends? No harm, no foul. You go your way, I go mine, and that's it. Why drag it on and end up? It's like marrying somebody that is going to be trouble, and you end up getting trouble just because you think you should get married. I don't. And after 53, 54 years of that, right away, I can spend 5 minutes with somebody and know whether they're real or not. Mm-hmm. It's natural instinct that comes from, the scar. I can show you the scars on my back from the ones that I agreed to do. And just, it gets to the point where you'll do whatever you have to do to get out of it. What do you need from me so that I can go my way and you could go yours? And I'm already deep in. Okay. And they got me because they owe me.
Oh, that sucks.
And it's like, when you're dealing with creativity, this is what they want. They want the idea. Okay. Without the idea, they got nothing. So they come to me for the idea, and either they'll rip me off or, they'll one way or another, they'll get to me. And I'm just not I've done it any way that you could get me. I've been had, and sometimes more than once, because I want to believe. I want to believe in what I do, and I want to believe in the people that I work with. And if I can't do that, I don't want to do it.
So, Ernie, you're into this space now, the CBD and the marijuana industry. What's on the horizon in that for you? What's the next big project that you got coming?
Well, it's great that you asked me that, Mark. Thank you. I'm spending more time on my collection. Okay, I do the work that I want to do. I have these two clients. I have a couple other smaller clients. But my main project now is all this art. I have 350 original pieces and probably 2,000 or 3,000 sketches and comps and all this different printed pieces. And I want to start an online gallery. I want to start an online gallery where people can go, and we talked about this, where they can go and buy something that, another competitor of theirs who also loves the group would buy. And they have the only one. So, it's going to start around $250 and go up to $150,000. And I've got tons of stuff, every price point, so that's a project. The other project is getting more museum shows.
Well, this is a great episode that we had today. A great talk with Ernie Cefalu from Pacific Iron Air. He was telling us all about his clients of today and his niche he found in the marijuana and CBD industry. And that's pretty insightful. He talks about Daddy Purp. Yeah, it's really an amazing episode. And he also tells us about some insight about people going to be able to purchase some of his original pieces. So make sure you check out Ernie at www.pacificionair.com and follow Ernie Cefalu on all his media platforms.